Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Today we've got some stories about the global market and how the Fed is here to save every single one of us, including the traditional markets and, as it stands, the cryptocurrency and digital asset market. Plus, the number of investors holding 0.1 Bitcoin wallet hits a new all-time high, on top of a former article which talked about the number of people owning 1 Bitcoin hits a new record. Also, we got a fascinating story about one man's mission to deploy solar-powered Bitcoin nodes across Africa and how this is actually going to lead to job creation, which nobody really even thought of. And finally, I want to share with you an email that I got from Jiri, and it's going to lead us into Scam of the Day. So let's jump right in. But first, what's going on with the market? So Bitcoin, not too bad, 94.61. This was after a nice little retracement where it dropped down to sub 9,000, so everything's looking good there. Ethereum 233, hoping to see 250 at some point. XRP is XRP, Tether's Tether, and on down we go. Looks like Cardano making a little bit of gains, 4.2%, as it starts to push its way towards the Shelley mainnet launch, which should happen at the end of June, maybe at the latest July 7th. We'll see if Charles can keep his word and hit those time frames. Crypto.com still goes up. Chainlink always making good gains. I like to see that, and that's not too bad. So we'll see how everything goes out. Let's just jump into today's stories. So first up, this is Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, and he's making his opening remarks to Congress. Looks like this was pre-recorded. And some of the things he said was pretty fascinating, but really what it comes down to is that the Fed is going to be here for a long time, and they're going to print money like crazy, even though the traditional markets should really have been faltering. But no big deal, because the Fed's here to bail everybody out. So the first part we're going to listen to is where he just says, hey, the GDP, this is the worst it's going to be on record, which is kind of crazy to think about, that our gross domestic product in the United States, the worst on record, yet the market itself is doing the best on record. Unbelievable, totally inverse of what it should be. Let's take a listen.
And the reported unemployment rate has risen about 10 percentage points to 13.3%. The decline in real GDP this quarter is likely to be the most severe on record.
Nice. The most severe on record. You heard it from the horse's mouth. So the gross domestic product, goods and services in the United States, is going to be the absolute worst thanks to the coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. So what does this mean moving forward? How did this affect everybody around? We're going to take a listen, and we're going to talk about the unequal burden. And I have a question for you after you take a listen.
The downturn has not fallen equally on all Americans. Instead, those least able to withstand the downturn have been affected most. As discussed in the June Monetary Policy Report, low-income households have experienced by far the sharpest drop in employment, while job losses of Americans, Hispanics, and women have been greater than that of other groups. If not contained and reversed, the downturn could further widen gaps in economic well-being that the long expansion had made some progress in closing. Recently, some indicators have pointed to a stabilization and in some areas a modest rebound in economic activity. With an easing of restrictions on mobility and commerce and the extension of federal loans and grants, some businesses are opening up, while stimulus checks and unemployment benefits are supporting household incomes and spending. As a result, employment moved higher in May.
Two things. First of all, the May unemployment report was skewed, and there were some inaccuracies, I think of 6 or 7 percentage points. So that was a big thing. But I did happen to take a listen to this 4 or 5 times. And one of the things that Jerome here is talking about is infusing liquidity into the market and doing these different programs like the CARES Act, the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, the EIDL, the Emergency Disaster Loan Program, and all these things that came about. And the question I had for myself was, what would have happened if the Fed had not stepped in whatsoever, had printed no more money, and I just said, you know what? We're not going to do anything, hands off, that's not our thing. We're going to leave this up to the government, because the Fed is about as Fed as Federal Express. I mean, they are just a private entity per se. Now, the Treasury is a little bit different. That is part of the government. But so that's the question for everybody I have right now. So what would have happened if the Fed did no money printing whatsoever? Do you think people could have just gotten by and been okay with just being on lockdown and having no money coming in? Or do you think that it would have been fine and the free market would have found a way to actually pay for certain things. And I know that this is another question that had come up. They said, well, what if we could just use like a new type of reserve currency, such as Bitcoin? Well, first of all, that's a little crazy because, I mean, if we just substitute the US dollar and put Bitcoin in right now, the whole system would collapse because there's no way that Bitcoin could do all the transactions globally for the United States and as far as like the global economy. I mean, we saw what happened in 2017, and that was just pure speculation. So to go for that to that, I don't think that could ever, not ever, but could definitely happen right now. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments section. Did they do the right thing? Are they doing too much now moving forward? Or did they do just the right amount? And also, how would you have solved this crisis as far as people in their homes not being able to work and having no money to buy the basics such as grocery, electricity, utilities, all those things? That's an interesting question. Anyhow, let's take a listen. We're going to move forward and we're going to talk about the Fed this is what really saved the traditional markets because they were on a little bit of a slump. And then Jerome Powell here came out and he pretty much said, hey, look, don't worry, we're here. We're going to put our Superman cape on. We're going to save everybody. Let's take a listen.
Inflationary period is guided by our mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people, along with our responsibilities to promote the stability of the financial system. We are committed to using our full range of tools to support the economy in this challenging time. In March, we quickly lowered the policy interest rate to near zero, reflecting the effects of COVID-19 on economic activity, employment, and inflation, and the heightened risks to the outlook. We expect to maintain interest rates at this level until we are confident that the economy has weathered recent events and is on track to achieve maximum employment and price stability goals. We have also been taking broad and forceful actions to support the flow of credit in the economy. Since March, we have been purchasing sizable quantities of Treasury securities and agency mortgage-backed securities in order to support the smooth functioning of these markets, which are vital to the flow of credit in the economy. As described in the Monetary Policy Report, these purchases have helped restore orderly market conditions and have fostered more accommodative financial conditions. As market functioning has improved since the strains experienced in March, we have gradually reduced the pace of these purchases. To sustain smooth market functioning and thereby foster the effective transmission of monetary policy to broader financial conditions, we will increase our holdings of Treasury securities and agency MBS over coming months, at least at the current pace.
To sustain the economic output, we are going to continue to buy securities, and essentially we are going to buy. And that is what is going on, and that was also in a statement that was put out. This is from the Federal Reserve System, federalreserve.gov. They state Federal Reserve Board announces updates to the secondary market corporate credit facility, which will begin buying a broad and diversified portfolio of corporate bonds to support market liquidity and the availability of credit for large employers. This was released at 2 p.m. yesterday, June 15th, 2020. So as you can see, the Fed's all in. They are just going to say, look, there is no problems. There is no repercussions. Whatever kind of risks you guys took, no big deal. We're going to pretty much bail you out, and we're going to be here for a long time. So here's the second question I have for everybody. How long can this go on? I mean, realistically, how long can the Fed continue to print money from thin air? Because does this really help with goods and services? I think it does a little bit. I mean, the more money that is out there, the more people can actually buy for goods and services that are available. But how many of these businesses are actually opening up? And what's going to happen if we see a second wave of the coronavirus come through? That is, I think, the big question. And if it does happen, how long can the Fed actually keep doing this? So let me know what you think in the comments section. But let's see how this actually affected the traditional market. So here's the S&P 500. This was a 5-day look, and it had a little bit of a downturn, a little bit of a slump, and then, of course, Jerome Powell came out and said what he said, or there was the press release, and then boom, everything came back up. Same thing with the Dow Jones, a little bit of a slump, and then boom, came back up. And then also, this is actually good for the cryptocurrency digital asset market. Now, some people say, well, it's not really correlated, but I beg to differ. And I can just tell you that this article really lays it out. And you got to remember, the institutional investors are here in droves. I mean, we have only to look at Grayscale, their investment report, Q1 2020, which was put out in April, and they pretty much laid it out. Look, first quarter of 2020, 88% came from institutional investors, dominated by hedge funds. In the last trailing 12 months, 79% came from institutional investors, dominated by hedge funds. And then we have somebody like a huge gold bug, which is Van Eck, and they just put out a report in January that said, hey, look, we know we're huge into gold. We love gold, but Bitcoin's even better than that, and we're going to recommend you to buy that. Then also we did a story a couple of days ago. Actually, a couple of days ago, where we talked about Fidelity getting into the fray and offering custodial services for large institutions, and they're bringing in with them 2.46 trillion assets under management. And on top of that, you have TD Ameritrade with their just small, paltry 1 trillion. And then recently, new to the fray is Paul Tudor Jones, where on May 8th, 2020, he states that we put 2% of total investments into Bitcoin futures. So if you don't think that the institutional investors are here, I have a bone to pick with you, because they are here in mass. So when we start to see a correlation, yes, of course we do, because those type of institutional investors, if that's good over here, what Jerome Powell said, they're like, oh, well, now there's no repercussions, so let's just go buy like crazy. And we see like an uptick as far as our market, cryptocurrency digital assets. So this article states Bitcoin price climbed Tuesday, logging a dramatic retracement after the Federal Reserve signaled its latest efforts to support the U.S. economy through the ongoing pandemic. The Bitcoin USD exchange rate swung by as much as almost 8% after settling an intraday low yesterday at 88.95. So if you got picked up Bitcoin at that price, good for you. Buying demand, the world's leading cryptocurrency, got a boost after the Fed announced that it purchased up to, check this out, $250 billion in individual corporate bonds. Wow, there is just no repercussions for crazy buying sprees. So good job to the corporations. Looks like they have no repercussions of what they do, because magical money machine prints like crazy. Good for them. Anyhow, that's it for that section. Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, can the Fed sustain this if we have a secondary wave, or do you think that this should not happen whatsoever? Let me know in the comment section. Let's move on. So a little more positivity. Number of investors holding 0.1 Bitcoin hits a new all-time high. And I like to see this because this, to me, looks like more adoption. I like to hear these stories. So according to data published by crypto analytics firm Glassnode, on June 13th, the number of wallets holding at least 0.1 Bitcoin reached a new high of 3,054,282. Here's a little graph which we're going to look at a little bit later. And I like to see these things because you've got 0.1 Bitcoin, which means to me, I think that's more of an indicator of people getting into it, because how many of us can just buy a full Bitcoin right off the bat? A full Bitcoin is going to cost you about $9,400. So there's not too many that can just do that immediately. But 0.1 Bitcoin, you might actually have that, or 0.01 or whatever it is. And then, so that's a good story. And then just recently in March, the number of people owning 1 Bitcoin hits a new record. Again, this is all from Glassnode. So if you want to take a look at Glassnode about what's going on, it's just studio.glassnode.com. I'm going to link this in the description for this video. But you can see new addresses, and it's pretty nice because it takes a look at all throughout the years, right? From 2010, which really no data, all the way to, where are we at here? 2011. And on the black is the actual price. And then, of course, the yellow is the number of new addresses or new Bitcoin addresses being created. This is back here in 2017. So look, as the price goes up, of course, more wallets get made. Then we have here, and then back we go. So not too bad. So that's the new addresses, total addresses. Let's take a look. So look at this, total Bitcoin addresses. And then you can see from here in the very beginning, the number of addresses were only 88,000. That's amazing. And of course, the price goes up, and it's a little bit different in this one. But I mean, we're looking at pretty much all-time highs over here, 658,000. How about this? Addresses with a balance of greater than 0.01. Again, here's 2017. We were looking at the number of addresses at 6,806,000. And this was, let me go back. Yeah, 6,090,000, around 6 million. We'll just go with that number. Nice round numbers. And then here, we're looking at 8 million. Pretty nice. So we have more people getting more Bitcoin and putting them into wallets. Here's addresses with balances greater than 1 whole Bitcoin. Let's see what we got. So again, I like to compare this with 2017 when everything was off the charts just about as far as prices go. So right here at the top, $19,587 for a Bitcoin. The number of addresses were 709,000. That's how many people had more than one Bitcoin. And now, with all the different falterings and COVID-19 and problems, we're looking at around 811,000. So not too bad. So I would like to see the price correlate to that, but we've had a lot of problems in this area. But I believe that things are going up in the right direction. We don't see the number of addresses just dropping off the cliff. There's actually new addresses being created. So I see that this is a good move. I see that it's actually moving the needle in the right direction. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Should we see more of a bigger price action with Bitcoin, or do you just think it's just going to take a little bit more time? Let me know. Let's move on. Last up, before we get to a sad story, this was a pretty just like a feel-good story, and I like to put some more positivity in here. So this was one man's mission to deploy solar-powered Bitcoin nodes across Africa. And when I first read it, I mean, it makes you feel good. That's nice, but it goes back to what I was talking about as far as job creation. 20, 30 years ago, no one would have thought that people would be looking for a person to do Facebook ads, to do SEO, to do some type of vlogs. They're like, what are you, is that even English? What are you talking about? These are jobs that just got created because of the internet. And I believe there's going to be a lot more jobs created because of blockchain technology. And this is just a prime example. So here's a quick little map of all the different nodes that are available throughout the entire globe. You can see, looks like the US and Europe has a vast majority. You've got South America, not too many. Then you got somewhere in Africa, very few. Australia also very few, which is kind of odd. But you can see where the majority of all the different nodes are. So Africa appears to have 8 nodes total from this map. Entrepreneur and IT guru Chinedu Chuta inferred that he's the only person in Nigeria known to be running a Lightning node. All told, Lightning activity looks sparse in the planet's second largest and second most populous continent, Africa. Chuta wants to change this. Like many Bitcoiners, he believes running a network node is one of the best ways to become truly financially independent. A Lightning node in particular, while experimental and maybe risky to use, will allow Africans to earn a little cash by way of fees for relaying money across the network, he said. I gotta tell you, I thought it was brilliant. I mean, look, if you're looking for a sustained type of industry or business, get into blockchain. And this is one of those fringe type of services that somebody can get into and go, hey, I have a node to transfer all those types of transactions and to verify them. I will do that for a little bit of money, and it's just passive income. The problem with this, though, I see, is the actual cost of building the actual node, and I'll get into that in a bit. But he says to that end, Blockspace Technologies Africa, Chuta's company, has released a kit for Bitcoin Lightning node, including all the hardware pieces for assembly called Spacebox, in the hopes of expanding the network's use across the continent. He states, I think this will help many people living in low-income regions of the world to become part of the Bitcoin ecosystem. Many Africans don't have access to financial services like traditional bank accounts. In 2015, the World Bank estimated that 350 million people living in sub-Saharan Africa were unbanked. In theory, running the pair of nodes could connect Africans to a more modern financial system, and to do so in a way that gives them greater visibility and control over their funds and relying on third parties. So here's a gentleman that we're talking about right here. I think it's a great idea. However, I got to tell you, I see some shortcomings. First up, for the Spacebox, it costs about $541. So to get that into the hands of Nigerians or some, in other parts of Africa is going to be super hard, because that is a lot of money over there. But he does state, our goal is to raise an army of full Bitcoin Lightning node operators to dot every nook and cranny of the continent in the next 1 year. We plan to sell and deploy at least 250 of these nodes in the next 6 months. And who knows? I mean, this is just how things get moving. You have entrepreneurs and first people, and they have to do these things. Anyhow, the last part of this article, Spacebox Lightning node component is built on top of the Bitcoin node. Lightning attempts to solve one of Bitcoin's biggest problems, increasing scalability, so more people can use a network at once. If successful, it might become the main method of making everyday payments in the cryptocurrency and generate revenue for those running nodes. And I think This is what I've always done as far as a business owner. I just pretty much throw things against the wall and see what sticks and run with that. And I fail a lot, but that's just the whole part of, opening up businesses. So all those people out there that, if you have a small business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of things don't work, but the ones that do work, you run with that one. So my final thoughts of this, this is a great starting point. And I think it'll eventually work out when things become cheaper, like the solar panels, like the Pi, Raspberry kit, like all the different components, because the price will actually go down as time moves on. But this is, again, what entrepreneurs and early adopters do, and that's why things move forward. And I think these are the types of people, these are the types of players in the game that are actually going to bring us real innovation. It's not going to come through IBM and their blockchain and all their different corporate bloated settings with people who are setting schedules and doing all these different things that really don't lead to innovation. I think it's these types of people that are going to push us to that next level because they are nimble and they are quick and they can do these things as opposed to a bloated corporation who has to go through a lot of checks and balances. Believe me, I was part of that cog and it never works out. All right. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I want to say thanks for sticking with me. There is one more thing I would like to talk about. This was from Jiri Vanik, and he sent me a pretty sad story. This gentleman, he lost a lot of money because of a Bitcoin scam. And I'm going to link the video in the comment section, but I also put it on the scam of the day under number 4. Watch this video from a person who was destroyed by scams. And I know for those of you who've been in the space a long time, you're like, how can this happen? This makes no sense. You shouldn't be falling for these things. But you gotta remember, everybody's on a spectrum. You've got somebody over here who's like, what's a blockchain? What's going on? What's a Bitcoin? You got other people over here who are writing code, and there's everything in between. So you gotta understand, you gotta take it from, just look at where people are. And unfortunately, Jiri, he lost a lot of money. I think he said he lost like 1.8 Bitcoin, which is a pretty big bummer. And it made me realize that the scam of the day needs to really get pushed a little bit more. So I don't see too many scams because people don't send them to me. So if you've got a scam, let me know and put it in the emails and I'll take a look. But this is Jiri's scam. This is one that looked like it of what happened. So just so you know, in the description of every one of my videos, there's going to be a link. It's going to say Scam of the Day. When you click on that, it's going to take you to Scam of the Day. We've done this for quite a while. And what I'm going to do is I want you just to scroll down, find this horror scam, Twitter CEO Live, and you're going to click on the link. It's going to take you here. And I don't want you to take my word for it that this is a scam. I want you to do your own research. But when I see scams, there's two things. First of all, I look in the comment section to see what other people are saying. And wow, digital asset news, it's pretty savage. And then some other people have said this is a scam. But just because they don't like it, maybe they're just haters. Maybe they just don't like this, whatever. So you got to look at what I see as a asymmetrical giveaway. So nobody's going to send you 1 Bitcoin if you send them half a Bitcoin, or 10 Bitcoin if you send them 2. That's an asymmetrical giveaway. So here it says, please send Bitcoin to Bitcoin address below. Any money sent will be doubled. 1 payment per attendee. Minimum amount is 0.0025. So here's the thing. You're not special, and no one likes you that much to send you that much Bitcoin. That's just reality. So get that through your head and you'll be okay. Treat everything like a scam until proven otherwise, and you will be just fine. I've also got some tips on ways to stay away from scams up here. First of all, never click on email links for your wallet or exchange, because those are fake. Don't download a plugin unless you're 100% sure of the source, and always go to the official website if you can. If you're looking for an update to Nano, go to the Nano's website. Don't think that it's in the Google Chrome shop. Bookmark the official pages so you can actually get back to them faster, instead of like going to like Binance dot whatever it is US. You might go to like Binance.happy.us, and that's a scam. So always try to get and bookmark the official page. But what I'm asking you to do, if you could, is I want you to go to this video. I want you to downvote it if you believe it is a scam. I believe it's a scam. And next, I just want you to click on these 3 dots. Click on report. Click on spam misleading. Choose one. this is a scam or fraud. Click next and just say, hey, this is a scam. Jack Dorsey is not giving away free Bitcoin. And then click report. That's all you got to do. And you can put whatever you want to. You can use the colorful language if you want to, but I would recommend not, because then YouTube might not check it out. So that's it. That's all you got to do. I really appreciate it if you got time. So that is it for today's video. But as always, I want to thank all the supporters who have clicked the join now button. When you join, you don't get anything special. It's just kind of like a tip. And level 1, they tipped me a couple bucks, so I want to say thanks, level 1s. Appreciate it. Level 2s, they pay a little more, and I give them a shout out. So shout out to All Right Soft, Wen Mullet, myself, who else? Dave Plum, the Straight Talking Guy, Bruce Wood, Baking Benjamins, Noel Flippin' Vegas, Martin Lewin, Michael Ralph, William Howell, Crazy Crypto Canuck, that's a good name, Tessie Ryasaki Positive, Fire Swing Golf, JC Durex, Crypto Veritas, John Miller, The Office, that's a good one, with the big Bitcoin logo, El Merg, Michael Jeffrey, The Kell Show, Mage Research, and Terry Prospery and XRP Carolina. And I just want to make mention of my own personal scam alert, just so you know. If you want to send me scams that you find, especially on YouTube, you can send it to dandigitalassetnews@gmail.com. It's also a link in my description. I give out my email. But if you get an email from dandigitalassetnew without the S at Gmail, that's a scammer, and he's asking you to join some kind of stupid trading group, which I don't trade, so I don't know how that even works. So if you get that, if you got time, write him back, tell him what a piece of trash he is for trying to steal hard-earned money from people like you, and also to put it in the scam and junk folder so his email account can hopefully be deleted. And that's it. So thanks for sticking with me. Really appreciate it. See ya on the next one.